Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to work on our little needle keep project. This one is similar to the other, but it just has less pages, and this cover was a lot more expensive to purchase for me and very limited. I couldn't find any more. So hence why they're the same price. It's just a little bit nicer and more antique looking, I guess. They're both beautiful, but you know what I mean. So today what we're going to do is we're going to work on this cover. If you do not have a sewing machine, have no fear. You can hand stitch or you could glue it down. So I'm going to have you remove all the contents from your bag. You're going to put every single thing aside except for your fusible interfacing, your sari silk, your extra piece of fabric. Now my inside's going to be just a little different than yours. I'm actually making a few to put up on my Ko-Fi page, or Ko-Fi, however you pronounce it, to sell. So I want to make them look just a little bit different from the other ones. So I used this for the inside. You want to see which is your right side and your wrong side. Sometimes these are really hard to tell. Okay, so if you look real close, you'll see a seam here, a thicker seam. I believe that's the inside, and this is the front. It doesn't have as thick a seam. It's not going to matter. It really isn't, because nobody's really going to know. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our interfacing. We're going to figure out what side, too, for the fabric is wrong. You guys have that brown fabric. So we're going to take the interfacing, and we're going to just iron it on this piece on the inside. And again, it doesn't have to be exact, because we're going to fold under the pieces, and you'll see. So you want to cut that. I'm just using a spare piece that I had. I prefer not to have it go over anyways, because it's a pain to cut off the edge once it's cut, and then it can stick. It sticks everywhere. It's just kind of a mess. So put that one aside. Then you want to take this piece, your cover, and you're going to do the same. Now this one is going to be a little tricky, and I'll tell you why. You do not want these corners, because you'll see them when you go through. So this is just, keep an eye on this, and I'll show you. You can see right through it. So just cut just a little bit before the edge. See? Just a little before that edge. Like that. Just so it's not peeking through to your lace on the other side. And then what I did is I just snipped the corners like that. I suppose we probably should trim the bottom first, but it doesn't really matter. And again, this stuff gives it support, and it covers so you don't see through it. So we're just gonna give it a little haircut here. And as you can tell, I'm haphazardly, my gosh, I can talk today, just doing it, just like this. Simple. So to make sure you have your interfacing the proper way, there's one side that's smooth and it feels more cottony, and there's one side that's rougher. You want the rougher side facing down, because that's the part you're going to iron. And somebody had mentioned to me before, Lisa, why don't you just get the interfacing that actually is two-way. It has two-way stickiness to it. And, well, guess what? I didn't think of that. And I didn't. So we're going to be doing it this way. And I'm just trimming it up. I'm a perfectionist. It doesn't need to be perfect. See, you just do not want to see the white on the other side. And if you see a little bit through here, that's not going to matter, because once you put your fabric in place, and this piece is supposed to be larger, so do not trim it down, because when we sew it, we're going to literally take it, because if you don't want a seam showing, you can if you want. You can trim it down and you can have a seam showing, but you're just going to fold it under. And we're going to iron that, but I'll show you that. But oh, I wanted to show you, you're not going to see. Oh, the allergies here in New Hampshire are unbelievable. See, you're really not going to see that. You know, a little, you'll see a little, but you're really, trust me, once we have it all decorated, it's gonna come together. So just like this one, because we're gonna sew around the edges, and you won't even be able to notice it. All right, so let's take this. Oh, I didn't even turn my iron on. So while we're waiting for my iron to heat up a little bit, I love my little iron, by the way. This thing is unbelievable, and I'll put the Amazon link below. And the same thing with my little mat, because I don't know about you, but I hate pulling out an ironing board. And I have a huge iron, but you know what? I never use it. I use this, and I even use that to iron anything that I iron. I don't iron our clothes. That's one thing I hate doing. It's kind of funny. I prefer to iron lace. Of course I do. So we're going to take this piece, and you're basically going to do the same thing. Just trim it up. And again, it does not have to totally fit, because we're going to be folding up the edges. And if you're not folding up the edges, then go ahead. You can make it fit perfectly if you'd like. But this part is just kind of a, like I said, stabilizer, and so you can't see through it, basically. It's good for thin cottons. And I thought of when I did junk journals, in the beginning, I would use this thin cotton and you could see through it. And I'm thinking, wow, now that I know so much more about this, I probably could use this. And this comes in all thicknesses, which is kind of cool for the different things that you make. So you want to have your iron on pretty hot, but not hot that you're going to burn things, and just fuse it on. It may take a few times to go over. This one, the one I gave you was new, but this one might be a piece from my mother that might be kind of old, so it may not fuse like yours. But it's okay, because it's going to be stitched. Well, oh, it is fused. Well, it's not fusing great, but just hold it down without burning. It's almost like you're doing an iron on, an iron on decal on a shirt or something. So instead of boring you guys, I'm going to finish ironing this on, and I'm going to do the same thing with this as well. And sometimes what I do too, to ensure it's down really well, is I'll flip the piece over and iron the other side, just like this. So I'll be right back. I have my two pieces ironed down. And one thing that I think I'm going to do, just to save time, is if you purchase the other journal as well, or needle keep, this particular one, why don't you pull that out? The cover is done exactly the same way, just so when I do that, I can show you the insides on another video. It's just going to make things easier and faster. So the next thing we're going to do, my husband says I say sew a lot, and I know I do. I got to work on that. So I'm sorry. We're going to take a piece of the sari silk. This is going to go right inside, and you want to figure out how you want to lay yours out. And you know what? Maybe you want to iron the piece that goes inside. And if you don't have a huge piece, I don't remember the sizes I gave you. I thought I gave a big enough size. You can just cut and just do one on either end. and sew right on the end here, just like this, and cut it in half. Sew here, and then sew one on the other end. I'm being lazy, and I'm just going to sew it in the middle. But first, I think to make it easier to stitch, I'm just going to turn my iron down a little bit, and I'm going to iron this. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to turn it down just a little. And I'm going to iron this out a little bit so it's flat. And I think the sewing machine might be easier with the sewing machine. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll give it a try. So let me just quickly iron a piece down. All right. So we'll take that. Also, if you're watching this, I have one more kit available for this particular one, and I have a few others for the other kit available. So I will put them up on my Ko-Fi page, and I, again, like I said, will link my Ko-Fi page below. There. So we have that. Our next step is going to be, if you're going to do this, you want to fold over your edges. What the heck? So you want to fold over your edges if you don't want a raw edge. And you can iron it down. And then I go back and make sure it fits. You'll see. Let me show you. Now I got to turn this iron back up, because this is a heavy, it's a heavy like upholstery fabric. I don't even know where I got it. Just like that. And then you can use your clips, which I will also put below. I gotta see where I put mine. You know what? I'm going to go find mine. These are awesome. I love these. And I will link that below as well. I don't think I could live without them because, you know, pins have their place. But my gosh, I don't know how many endless times I've stuck myself. So I just kind of keep them on here to support it while I'm figuring out the size that I need. So you know what, I'm going to do that. I got to stop saying so. Clip yours, and you want to clip it as well on the side here. And what I do is just take it and tuck it underneath this clip that I have already done. Just like that. Because we got to go back, and there may be an easier way to do it. I don't know. I tend to do things the hard way, but I'm self-taught. I taught myself how to do all this, basically. Being dyslexic, a lot of things I don't understand, so I have to kind of find my own way. And I teach you guys the way I learn, so hopefully that's helpful. So now you have the idea how to clip. And after I clip, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have them all clipped. And the next thing is, and I probably, you know, I probably could measure this and do it that way, but I choose to do things the hard way. You just, oh, not too bad. You want to make sure it fits. And this does fit, which I'm thrilled. I've never done anything that just kind of fit on the first try. So that's good. And let's flip it over. Not too bad. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to take, you can do it one out of two ways. You can go down and just tack all this down first, and then come back and lay your piece down. You're going to have to trim it a little bit. Your pocket. Where's the other piece? This piece. Again, yours is different than mine. For these, I just use scrap fabric, whatever I have, because I cover it. So if you want to do that and figure out the size you want on there, trim it up, and you can also do a stitch across the top. And then our piece is going to go on top, which you could either sew down or you could glue down. That's totally up to you how you want to do that. The one I did here, I believe, so I did the double stitch, and I think it looks kind of cool because it looks messy, which we like that look. So I believe I folded it under and did the first layer first, and then I took my fabric and laid it on top and did the other layer, and then I glued the lace on top. So again, that's totally up to you if you want to do that. In fact, this time around, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this. Measure, you know what I mean. Eyeball it. And cut it on both sides. Just, actually the long side. Just a little bit. Because I am going to sew this first. So it sews under just a little. Let me iron it down. This is muslin, so it irons pretty well. I think I gave you guys a piece of linen from I don't know if it was linen from that one. If it was from an old pillowcase. I love using vintage pillowcases because the fabrics are so different now, and I was looking at things, and it's so disappointing because so much is made in China now, and you look back at all the vintage and the antique stuff, and it's made here, and it's beautiful quality. Everything's been so cheapened now. So by making these books, we're also creating legacies for our future, our grandchildren. So they do have a piece of the old, because this generation tends not to, they don't save anything. So I make this just a hair larger, and the reason being is I can have a little bit of space in my pocket. That's a little too much space, so I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller. I don't like it too tight, so I have room in my pocket. So my pocket has a little expansion to it. There. Let's check it out now. Perfect. And that'll make it so it's not too tight. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to top stitch all around this. And I'm going to use my new sewing machine, so I might try to do a decorative stitch. I don't know. So you guys sit tight and I'll be right back. Whoops, banged it again. Boy, was that just frustrating. I went to use my new machine, forgot how to wind a bobbin, skipped over to my paper machine. Then I went and asked Gary something and lost the piece that I was going to sew. Had to go and look for it everywhere to find out it fell on the floor. So I'm back, and again, I'm trying not to say so. The next step is going to be, and again, every time I do this, I do it a little different. There's so many different ways of doing it. We're going to take this piece and this piece. If you prefer, and it's totally up to you, you can take this piece and put this down and go sew that now if you want to have all the different stitches. I also meant to do a zigzag, and that didn't work out so well for me either. And I'll just kind of show you the next, how we're gonna attempt this. Given there's only one felt page to stitch in, we're gonna do it like this. So however you feel, if you're a confident sewer and you want to take the whole thing and just do it like this, and then stitch, this is going to go down the middle, or if you want to just do it piece by piece, that is totally up to you. I think how I'm going to attack it is I'm going to tack this down like this, and I'm just going to go and move it out a hair so it catches the lace, but not too much because you don't want it to catch when you're sewing it. So you just want to be careful you don't catch that. And then that way I can do it in one false swoop. If you can see what I'm doing. Just so this corner is touching. And when I start sewing, I probably should take it to my sewing machine and show you how I do it. I'm gonna make that. And I am a beginner sewer. I don't consider myself anything more than a beginner. And again, I'm basically self-taught, because when I was in high school, we had home ec classes and that was the mid-80s. And I ended up sewing my shorts I was making to my crotch. The holes ended up, the leg holes. So when I went to go put them on, Lisa got a big F because I couldn't put them on. It was funny though, we were all laughing. And I couldn't stand it sewing back then, and now look, I love it. I think my grandmother's coming back. And then when I go through this, see, I'll just go and adjust this if we need a little adjustments to making it just a tad bit bigger. And I just kind of push that corner under, which I probably could trim, but not going to do that. Let's just fold this under a bit. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to go take it to the sewing machine and zigzag around it if I happen to change it to zigzag. So we'll do that. And again, I'm going to be very careful not to catch the lace. We do not want to catch that lace. One thing about this is you can always pull it out. I'm going to go and do that. And then once this part is done, we're going to stitch this in, and then we'll be on to the next video after. So I decided not to do a zigzag. And look, it's not perfect. I did this kind of, I don't know, it looks like, reminds me of the line you see when EKG line. And it's not perfect, but you know what? It's okay. The next thing, so all of you that are doing this journal as well, this needle keep, it's the same thing. The cover is the exact same way. So if you guys can get caught up, if you have questions, just pop me an email. The next step we're going to do is we're going to put this in the middle. Then we're going to kind of mark the middle. So what I'm going to do is, let me grab my ruler. I happen to have, let's see, what's it called? Ink that disappears. But if you're doing it on the hemline, or not the hemline, the middle line. So that's 2.5 for me. You can use pencil or whatever you want to use because you're not going to see it on the inside. I will leave my trusty little pens down too as well. So I'm just going to give it a mark and then do the top at 2.5. Give it a little mark. And actually, you know what you could do? Is fold it in half and just do it that way. I don't know why that one wasn't even. So we're just going to do this and fold it in half like this. And this one will iron right out. Watch. It's kind of cool. Oh, I turned my iron off. Well, I'll wait till it heats up and I'll show. And then you want to just find your middle. And there's our middle, right like that. So watch, you can see that little spot right there. Look how cool that is. Here, watch. It just disappears. So if you mess up, you can go ahead and do it again. You can almost do it just like this too, if you want to not use a ruler and just do it like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. So up until this part, unless you have a heavy duty sewing machine, I want my other girls that are making the other journal, the other needle keep, to stop. If you have a heavy duty sewing machine, by all means, you can sew these in. I happen to have a heavy duty and my machine will handle it. Lightweight machines will not handle a lot of fabric, and I'd hate to have you guys ruin your machine. I just eyeball my center on here. So that's just about in the center. I'm going to go ahead and put this in my machine and I'll be right back. Now we have this part finished. I'm going to go through and watch this. And I'm going to iron out the pink. I love this stuff. It's so cool. I'll trim that up a little bit too. What we could have done, and I probably should have done, and I messed up, guys, is glued this down first. So if you guys want to do that, glue this down and then put this on, that's fine. But if you screw up like I just did, you can do it this way as well. And like I said, I'm going to create mine a little bit different than yours because I like to offer different varieties in my shop. And this is the one that you'll be making. And I think you either have this one or this one in there. So if you wanted to, like I said, you can stitch this down or glue it down. So now I'm stuck gluing it down unless I pull it apart. With that given said, we're going to stop the video here and I will be back in another day to finish this. I don't want to drag it on too much. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.